Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Nick on Blue-Red Delver, perhaps the most popular deck in the format now, versus a little-known deck here, Tyler on Esper Flash. He has done some really cool stuff with this list. We'll see how it stands up. Oh, this may be a Jeskai build. Let's see, we got a Tundra, so I don't really trust this Esper description. Brainstorm. And I'll tell you what, based off of the land so far, you'd imagine Tyler would be on Death and Taxes. I can only guess that Nick is playing this as though he's up against D&T. Not sure what differences there might be in terms of his brainstorming. And Mother of Runes goes up, gets plowed, and are moving on. Now another Mother of Runes. And another Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, this has got to be perhaps the Jeskai Standstill deck. Seems the most likely here for Nick. Another Aether Vial. And you know, I generally don't love the second Aether Vial in this type of situation. It can often be brainstormed back. We've got a Crucible. And Spellqueller is going to look to prevent that from showing up. And a third Swords to Plowshares. Wow, this is very much not Blue-Red Delver. Crucible sticks, generates a little bit of card advantage for Nick, and he's going to be able to use a fetch land every single turn. Right now, his life total is under absolutely no pressure. Fetching again. And we got a reader, Sea Dasher Octopus. As Flash, whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you draw a card. Can also be used with Mutate. And a Brainstorm. Sucks up a Force of Negation. Fairly low value as far as Force of Negation goes. But honestly, you know, in a deck full of creatures like this, there may not be that many targets for Force of Negation, so likely the correct play. Brainstorm could convert a land or two. Certainly that Aether Vial that was played after the Brainstorm, that could have been better off as another creature. So likely correct to force a negation that 1-mana spell. Nick is kind of keeping up in card quantity as he's got a Crucible doing work, but this Sea Dasher Octopus is going to do some heavy lifting for Esper if left unchecked. What are we going to see here? This is just a frail 2/2 body. Just about anything could step in front of this and cause problems. A Snapcaster Mage could be disastrous. We've got the cycling of Shark Typhoon to make a 2/2 Shark. A Swords to Plowshares trying to remove the Shark. And then now we've got Tyler with all the Swords to Plowshares. Oh, and a Flusterstorm. What is happening here? Absolutely wild. And then a Stonecloaker coming down at the end. Absolutely crazy stack as Stonecloaker comes down, returning the squid to the hand. Despite Nick having a Flusterstorm. Stonecloaker comes in for 3 in the air. Looks like the 3/3 body actually trading with the Stonecloaker. I'm not sure I actually followed that previous stack if there was still a body on board. Guess the Flusterstorm in the end. Oh, the Flusterstorm ended up countering all the Swords to Plowshares. There we go. Trying to keep up. And now we've got a attempt to mutate onto the Stonecloaker. Life total getting low for Nick. Urza's Saga. Making constructs. Now fetching a Retrofitter Foundry. No. Of course, he's got 3 Aether Vials out, so he's going to go after those. See how this ends up playing out. Another Urza's Saga. Oh, and a Swords to Plowshare is absolutely back-breaking there with all 3 vials shut down. Urza's Saga, just an incredible magic card. Urza's Saga, just such a powerful card and so many good 1-drops available in Legacy. Retrofitter Foundry out of nowhere is worth a ton thanks to this. You get a couple of constructs and a Retrofitter Foundry, which makes another body. And it doesn't stop there. It just keeps spitting out additional artifacts to pump your constructs. Of course, we saw Crucible and just be devastating, allow you to reuse your Urza's Saga. And, you know, the card's also not legendary, so you can have multiples of them out at a time. They can get out of hand very, very quickly. You have an Aether Vial shut down by Pithing Needle. Mother of Runes, will she stick around? No. No, this time it looks like a Prismatic Ending. Sorcery speed, incredibly versatile. Swords to Plowshares. And of course, take out almost all creatures, but Prismatic Ending has even more utility. A little bit slower. But man, that extra versatility is incredibly welcome. A couple of Wastelands here for Tyler. Prismatic Ending being used on the Aether Vial despite the Pithing Needle shutting it down. Interesting. Interesting decision. See if Nick finds himself short of removal at any point. We have a Wasteland taking out the Urza Saga. Tyler now's only permanent in play is a Wasteland. He goes to discard. That is never good. Engineered Explosives at 1. Interesting. Nick's stuck on 1 land as well. What a bizarre game. We have a Mox Pearl playmat there. To our ELD Vintage Open champion on July 24th. We have plenty of games to do commentary on now. About a month of a backlog. See if we can start getting more than 1 video a day in here. End of turn brainstorming. It'll depend on the speed of the matches. I'll tell you that. There are definitely some matches that are going the distance. I know we've got some speed runs coming down the pipe as well. Hull Breacher thrown out. That gets a Force of Will. That card is absolutely backbreaking. Banned now in Commander. A second Basic Plains, not the land that Nick would be hoping for. Another Hull Breacher. If this one sticks, that's going to make it really tough for Nick to get back into the game. So Force of Will stopping the Hull Breacher. It's a little awkward here. A Containment Priest. That's going to get Spell Quellered. Big tempo swing there. Instead of having a body. Tyler ends up with a clock. If everything remains as it is, he will eventually win. So Nick's going to have to, at some point, draw some other colored mana. Good to have any chance here. Wow, going to discard. What a train wreck. And discarding. Tyler has some mana. Underground Sea. Again swinging. Passing the turn. Now flashing in. Sea Dasher, Octopus. Really turning the corner here. Tyler looking, I mean, heavily favored would be an understatement. Despite going to discard here, he's got a draw engine online. He's got a 2-turn clock. Nick stuck on a single color of mana. Got a Swords to Plowshares taken out. Spell Queller, he gets back a Containment Priest. There's 2 Sea Dashers here. Swords takes out the Containment Priest. Gives him 2 life, but 4 quickly come off as Sea Dasher. Turns sideways. Draws a couple of cards. Finally a potential potential blue source, I should say. Could certainly be Tundra. Got a fetch. Cycle, Shark, Typhoon. Tyler's got the answer. We are on to a third one. That was not pretty. Sea Dasher, a grindy magic card. I do actually enjoy cards like that. Just like the general play style. I mean, I remember discovering way back in the day, just like Blue-Red Ophidian, talking some of the earlier days of me playing in tournaments and just thinking it was a total pile of garbage. And then eventually kind of learning how that tempo game can play out. You know, your opponent plays like an Ophidian, you play a creature, they Flame Tongue Kavu it, they swing, they draw a card, basically undoing everything that you're doing. Every time you go to cast a creature, they were either countering it or killing it. And normally that doesn't necessarily matter unless they already have a board presence and are doing other things. If all they're doing is stopping your creatures, that's not going to do it. But, you know, in the case where they've got a Delver of Secrets out, chipping away for 3 at a time, or here with something like Sea Dash or Octopus, connecting, drawing cards, and furthering their game plan, it just kind of exaggerates the situation turn after turn, or exacerbates, I guess, makes it just more and more unlikely that you'll find a way back into the game as their situation improves and yours just deteriorates. You've got a Aether Vial off of Tundra. Both players look like they may have mana to actually use this game. Be a relief. Nick pondering. Aether Vial can do a lot of work. And Pithing Needle's looking to shut it down. Looks like it will. It'll still tick up. So if this Pithing Needle ever goes away, Aether Vial could have some utility. A Retrofitter Foundry being cast. And another Mother of Runes. She doesn't actually line up very well versus colorless threats. No Giver of Runes. Construct. Can be made here. Nick really needs to hit a mana source or make a land drop. Doesn't, that's going to be really punishing. You want to get those constructs. Oh, actually valuing the Crucible more than the construct here. Very interesting. Nick setting up for the long term. Typically what you'll see there is a construct being made and then another one being made. Now, oh, he might just be, you know what, this is old enough. This might be like one of the first time he gets to play with the card. So, wow, it looks like nothing to find off of the Saga and then playing a Supreme Verdict. So that actually does line up with not wasting the time making the constructs. Nick really concerned with those Mother of Runes, seeing that Tyler's only on 1 mana and thinking that he's just not going to have a chance. He can keep him off of Teferi's just a rude card versus this deck. So much of the deck flash creatures really do want to be played at instant speed, and Teferi going to shut all of that down. Body here. Crucible of Worlds going to offset some of the problems. That Urza's Saga Presents going away after it ticks up. It comes back again. Just potentially creating a ton of value. So far it's been somewhat modest. Oh no, another Aether Vial. That's just daggers. And constructs are going to be able to accumulate here. A Brainstorm for Nick. I mean, Urza Saga's search ability at the end there. Oh wow, that came out huge. Just trying out this new card tech. We'll see how this goes. Try and get some cards on screen for people. So many constructs. Tyler's got like a turn to live. Just an absolute train wreck. As Aether Vials shut down by this Pithing Needle. A main deckable card thanks to Urza's Saga. You have so much access to it, and that's really what you want out of a card like Pithing Needle. You want access to it, but you don't want to draw it when it's going to be a brick. We have a Fracture, which is going to get rid of Pithing Needle potentially. Just don't think that's going to be enough. Guess we'll see. Containment Priest flashes in response, and that is also going to make Aether Vial pretty suboptimal. Solitude. All right. This is getting spicy. The Solitude. Pitching a Spell Queller. Containment Priest is gone. Aether Vials can actually be used here. What can Tyler do during the end step to get out of this? Oh, that was main phase. Oh. And that just won't do. Making additional constructs. He can make another Thopter if need be. I mean, this is going to be probably a gruesome declare blockers step, if it even makes it to that point. Tyler mathing it out. We got a Stone Cloaker. Just going to end up being a 3-2 here. Swords to Plowshares. Prevents him from doing very much. Just 3 cards left for Tyler. Rainstorm. No threat of Hull Breacher. Fetch land on board. Look, trying to gauge how many constructs there are versus Thopters or servos. So Retrofitter Foundry makes servos, then Thopters, then constructs. There's a lot of inevitability. Card with infinite mana, you actually win, but incrementally over time. I mean, it just buries your opponent, especially with those Urza Saga's constructs getting bigger with additional artifacts. What hope could Tyler have here? Wasteland. A Teferi of his own. And bounce a permanent. And likely just die. Fighting valiantly, but no, that's enough. Just no moss, no moss. That is a very interesting early showing. of the Jeskai Standstill decks. This is probably the earliest that we've seen of what might be the best deck in the format. I am not going to lie. I like a lot of the decks that have happened in the wake of Modern Horizons 2. Jeskai Standstill might be the best of them.